to heaven sometimes, friend. Deeper than the sun, in waxen shades of green, and offering by hands unseen, orange head. Reflections of the morning sky on rivers lie, a woven life that swims and flies in through these broken days, the love of loved ones softly singing, ringing in my ears, soothing me. The candlelight and murmured songs of Notre Dame awaken to the breaking Easter dawn. Life wakes into day, the dead awake to dreams that linger, bringing on the dark. At night I fly to heaven sometimes. Sometimes, friend.
Many of you might know this one. If you know it, sing it. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 everybody, get up on your feet. See the light, everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light, everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. Love you.
Good morning. My name is
Okay.
Good morning. And we've already had a blessing this morning, I have to tell you. After our technical difficulties last time I was hosting, we had them again this morning. But anyways, we're on the air, so I'm so happy to be with you. My name is Steve Ferger, and I'm your host for today's live streaming Sunday celebration service, coming to you from beautiful Palm Springs, California, on this sunny and breezy second day of spring. You've been listening to One Big Family, written and performed by Gary Lynn Floyd. On behalf of your Leadership Council and our Senior Minister, Reverend Eunice Chalfant, I want to extend a warm welcome to all of our regular viewers here in Palm Springs and all of our many viewers around the country. Lori and Jeff in Miami, Terry in Seattle, Linda Ginn in Los Angeles, Jenny Malloy, Tony Suter, and Jazz and Patricia Minkle right here in Palm Springs. No matter where you are on your spiritual path or where you might be watching from this morning, you are welcome here. We like to begin our service by reciting our mission and vision statement. Please follow along with me at home. At CSLPS, we envision a world where oneness is cultivated, unity is lived, and reverence for all life is practiced, empowering us to thrive individually and collectively. And of course, we do this through the teachings of science of mind and spirit and the practice of unconditional love. There are a number of things for you to be aware of this week. On Wednesday evening at 6:30, join us for Wisdom Shares and Sacred Practices, facilitated this week by Jeff Kingfisher. In celebration of Lent, join Jeff as he presents Music and the Gift of Struggle. We'll be exploring how resistance, adversity, dissonance, and our struggles with them are gifts to our growth. Discover and hear how this truth arises in the organic structures of sound and music. Feel free to share your own stories of struggle leading to growth. The evening will close with a musorical casting and a short music meditation. Spring classes will start in April. Foundations for Living with Ejaya Grace Angel Frazier begins on April 1st at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. This 5-week class focuses on the basics of the science of mind principles and practices, and is a starting place for those who want to create the life of their dreams. It's also a perfect spiritual tune-up for anyone who's previously taken this course. All of our CSLPS classes are offered on a love offering basis with a materials fee. To register, log on to cslps.org and complete the registration form under the Events and Classes tab. Reverend Eunice is not having a walk in the park today, but she'll be back strolling in Ruth Hardy Park next Sunday at 1 p.m. and would love your company. We are getting closer to having in-person services back at the center, and Jeff Kingfisher is looking for a few people to join his sound and streaming team. So now let's hear a brief message from Jeff to let you know more about it.
Hello, folks. Jeff Kingfisher here, still looking for a few good men and women to join us in the adventure that is the Sound and Stream team. We'll be working in pairs, doing live sound and live streaming to Facebook and YouTube for Sunday services. It's not overly technical, it's fun, and it's exciting, and we'd love to have you and your creative energy on board. So please, shoot me an email at the above address or message me on Facebook, and we'll set something up. We're planning on getting the whole ball rolling right after Easter. So thank you, and I hope to hear from you soon. Namaste.
Thanks, Jeff. And finally, we will wrap up our 40-day journey of leaping into freedom in the new fabulous by moving in the direction of meeting in person with a 9 a.m. outdoor Easter Sunday celebration service in the CSL parking lot. Just bring your mask, your Easter bonnet, and a lawn chair. For those of you who want to attend but might not be ready to sit with others, we will accommodate a limited number of cars behind the seating area. Reservations are needed for the outdoor Easter service. To RSVP, just go to our website, cslps.org, and click on the tab for classes and events. We're still looking for volunteers to help on our Easter service teams. You can find out more about the different teams by checking out our weekly e-newsletter or by contacting Margie Roth in the office. In just a few minutes, Reverend Robert Wilson will be offering today's reading and invocation. Practitioner Roberta Rodriguez is holding high watch during today's service, and Reverend Rebecca Venkatraman will be your host for one-on-one prayer in the upper room immediately following today's service. But first, here's a Sharing from the Heart message from Leadership Council member Judy Greger.
Hi, I'm Judith Greger, a member of the Leadership Council for this Center for Spiritual Living here in Palm Springs. I retired here about 6 years ago, and I found that this community really welcomed me into their heart. It really has become my spiritual home. Since I found the book Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes over 30 years ago, it really has enhanced my spiritual practice. You know, we all travel through life with challenges and new experiences and difficulties. When I was 30 years old, I was planning on being married and having kids. But then my father unexpectedly died, leaving me taking care of my grandmother, who I didn't even really know very well. We laughed together and we cried together. We got in trouble, we got out of trouble. And through that whole experience, I was enriched with all the time I spent with her. I didn't know it was possible to mourn someone so much when she passed away after 7 years. I found so much of my spiritual strength and developed so much knowledge about myself during that time. So it's been the teachings that has meant the most to me and in my life that has helped me navigate these difficult experiences. It's given me some positivity, some joy, some hope, something to look for to help me more substantially deal with things. I serve on the board because I believe in these principles. I believe in sharing these experiences with others. I think that it's a great foundation for me in my life, and I hope it will be for others, and that's what I'm here to do. I would hope you could join me in supporting Center for Spiritual Living here in Palm Springs with your time, your talent, and your gifts. For those of you who can join us in person, I'm going to look forward to meeting with you again. For those of you who we are sharing this time together over the internet, I am blessed by your presence. And if you ever get to Palm Springs, look us up. We're a fun bunch. And in closing, I would like to say, go forth and be awesome.
Thank you, Judy. So now join me as together we take a deep, collective breath, relax our minds, open our hearts, and breathe in all the love that is always flowing in, through, and around us. Now breathing in, relax, and let the music take us just a bit deeper.
Open wide my heart. 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 Open wide. Open wide my heart. Open wide my heart. Open wide my heart. My
Good morning. I'm Reverend Robert Wilson. There are 2 readings for today. The first is by Dr. Ernest Holmes, and the second is taken from the book Spiritual Liberation by Dr. Michael Beckwith. We begin with a quote from Ideas for Living by Ernest Holmes. Quote, "We should give of ourselves in love and in service to others, in a spirit of generosity and good fellowship. To refuse to give is to refuse to receive, for everything moves in circles. Real giving is the givingness of the self, a kind word, a thoughtful act, perhaps just a smile, can help lighten the burdens of others. Appreciation, gratitude, and thanksgiving are the motive power which attract and magnifies the hidden potentialities of life." And from Reverend Michael, quote, "One of my favorite expressions is that we give to live until we live to give. As we realize that our spiritual inheritance includes the entire treasure house of good, we acknowledge our gratitude for this through our spirit of generosity. We reciprocate the Spirit's lavish givingness by openly and frequently expressing generosity toward all life through the sharing of our resources, time, energy, gifts, talents, and skills. Generosity is contagious and leaves a profound effect on both the giver and the receiver." And let's take a moment now just to contemplate those words. So as we become more mindful of this moment, I know that the Spirit, that presence of Spirit, surrounds and engulfs each of us. And I'm reminded of a story about how presence always surrounds us. There's a nurse in a hospital's children ward, and one night she hears a little boy in a room talking about some things, and the chatter just keeps up continuously. Finally, she got to the intercom and said softly but firmly, "All right, Johnny, it's time to go to sleep now." There was a quiet in the room, and then you heard Johnny say, "Okay, God, I will." There was not a peep until morning. That presence of Spirit is always with us. If you just allow it to, I will accept it. I know that the smell of Spirit surrounds me every single moment of this spring, the scent of the flowers blooming. I know that I feel the warmth of Spirit in the warmth of the sun on my face and the sweet breeze against my person. And I see Spirit, the presence of Spirit around me in the flowers and in the trees blooming and in that beautiful blue sky that I see from where I am right now. I know that that Spirit is always around me, ever present. And I know that as I see Spirit moving through each and every single one of us at this very special moment, I hear the breath of God in the wind moving through the trees here, right here where I sit. And I hear the words of Spirit in the messages and the music from whatever we have this morning. I know that as I reach out in everything I do, I touch, I feel the presence of Spirit. I know that there's only one life, and that life is God's life. That life is good. That life is whole. It's perfect. It's complete. And that life is my life right now, right here, right this very moment. And as I hear that little child saying, "Okay, God, I will," I know and I declare that I will. I know that the presence of Spirit is right here, right now, this very special moment. And together we say, and so it is. Namaste.
If you desire the sound, get out of the cell. Leave the shallow stream behind. If you desire the sound, get out of the cell. Flow into the river deep and wide. You are the wide blue sky. Don't pretend it isn't true. We can see it in your eyes. Turn with the stars above you. If you desire the sound, get out of the cell. Leave the shallow stream behind. If you desire the sound, get out of the cell. Flow into the river deep and wide. You are the wide blue sky. Don't pretend it isn't true. We can see it in your eyes. Turn with the stars. Turn with the stars above you.
Good morning, beloveds. I am so grateful to be with you today and to together remember who and what we truly are. For we are powerful beings of light and love and truth and wisdom, and all the qualities of God are uniquely individualized, and we come together every Sunday, whether in person or virtually, to remind ourselves of this truth, because it's so easy to fall asleep in the world today. And it takes all of us creating a collective vortex of awakening and remembrance. And so that is the consciousness that I will welcome each and every one of us into this morning. For this is the day that God has made, and we are so grateful, and we are rejoicing in it. Yes. Well, before I start my talk, I want us to take a moment to pause and to know together in our silent prayer, divine right order, healing, love, peace, and harmony for all of us, and especially for those who were impacted by this terrible mass shooting in our Asian segment of our population, our Asian brothers and sisters. And wow, so let's just remember that God is still here revealing us love and oneness and support. And we silently bless them now. And so it is. For love knows no limit, nor measure, time, nor space. Love is eternal. Not even death can separate us from the love of God. And this is the truth we know for those who were impacted by family members passing this weekend. I also want to just give you an update. We have two of our beloved community that has passed within the last couple of weeks. First and foremost, Michael McDonald and his dear friend and family have asked to have his service postponed a little bit longer until after Easter. And so we will come together outdoors in some way to celebrate his life and his contributions. And then just a week ago, when I couldn't announce it because I wasn't on last week, but Barry Coleman, who was our resident chef, moved with his partner and his beloved John Preston up to Northern California, to Eureka. And just a week ago, John passed. Both he and Michael had a heart attack, and they both passed in very similar ways. And so our hearts go out to the family and friends of Michael McDonald and to Barry Coleman. We just lift him up during this time of acceptance. And Barry has asked that we also do a Zoom memorial after the Easter celebration. So those two things will be coming up so we can truly honor and celebrate the wonderful lives of John and Michael. So just to get us caught up, and I always like to look at a map and see where I am on any journey and see how far I've come and how far is left to go. And so I want to just kind of recast the context of this wonderful 40-day journey of leaping into freedom in the new fabulous. And that has been our 40-day journey that we have been on, and we're about 3/4 of the way through this journey. And this journey, this 40 days, is also taking place within the sacred parenthesis of eternity called the Lenten season in the Christian world. And in the Jewish world, we're starting to come up to the high holy days of Passover and that whole celebration. So the 40-day journey, the Lenten season commemorates Jesus's journey into the wilderness. And this journey that Jesus took was a transformational journey. And the wilderness simply is a metaphor for going into that deepest realm of our being, that inner realm where we really start to connect with our higher self, our true self, the God within. And that is what Jesus went through during that 40-day trek into the wilderness. He was tested and he came into a deeper spiritual communion with the God. And so we have taken that journey metaphorically and literally through this 40-day journey that we're on now, because it's an eternal journey of transformation. And so we are using this sacred period, this parenthesis. You know, it's a parenthesis kind of isolates a certain clause within a sentence. We are looking at this whole life and using it intentionally to deepen our awareness of who and what we truly are. And this transformational journey, this journey of leaping into freedom is an eternal journey. It's ongoing. No beginning, no ending, because in God, life is eternal and infinite, and there's no destination place. So we are always engaging in this journey. And the journey of transformation, we have been looking at the metaphor of a caterpillar moving into the cocoon and emerging as a butterfly. And so there is something that is taking place within that cocoon, within that dark space. And that something is what is called metamorphosis. A whole new creation is being brought forth. And so in this 40-day journey, we have been metamorphosizing into a new individual and a new collective community. For we don't know what it's going to be like, but we know that we will be a new being, a new creation when we all emerge and resurrect life once again on Easter Sunday. And in this case, we're going to do it in person, outdoors. And so that's going to be a wonderful time of rebirth. And so in the Christian tradition, when they talk about being born again, this is what it means to be born again. We are being created anew, and we will emerge as a new community. We will not be the same old CSL Palm Springs, because now we have expanded and moved into not only in-person community, but a virtual community. We have now co-creators, formerly known as members, that live out of state in 2 different states right now. And actually 3 real active members in 3 different states, all across the United States. And so the very nature of what it means to be in community has metamorphosized into a new being, a new way of living. And what is true for us is true for our larger culture. That when we come out of this cocoon of sheltering at home because of the pandemic, we will emerge as a stronger, more vitally alive community of like-minded people in our country. We are in the process of coming into a new way of being together in this country and in the world. And so this whole idea of transformation and metamorphosis is really, this year in particular, a very real, palpable, literal experience. And so to do it intentionally and consciously, as we have been doing these last couple of weeks, will allow us to grow and deepen in ways we never have conceived of before. So just as a quick review of where we have come from, we started off the first week, 4 weeks ago actually, by anchoring this journey in faith. Faith in God, faith of God, faith that knows everything in the right order, no matter what the appearance is. Faith is a powerful foundation from which to leap into the unknown. And so we first and foremost establish faith in our spiritual practices, and we grow and cultivate faith in something greater than we can possibly imagine. And knowing that God is always expressing through us, as us, it is really faith in ourselves that no, we have been born for such a time as this. And so we started off with faith. And then the next week, we looked at all the various stages of this transformation or this metamorphosis. And the first stage is really coming into and cultivating greater awareness, acceptance, and authenticity. We need that capacity to be aware, to be self-reflective, to be conscious of ourselves internally and externally, to practice mindfulness, to be awake, aware, alert in the present moment. And as we do so, we see all the things we love about ourselves and our community, and all the things that we don't like about ourselves and our community. And we are called to want to transform it. But for us to be able to transform it, we have to accept what is. This is it. This is it. This is what is. And when we do that, when we express in an accepting way, we also are coming into greater authenticity. And that leads us to our next week, where we looked at, when we see this is what it is, I accept it, I can now change it, transform it, and release it. So the next week we're looking at leaping into freedom through letting go of the past. So we looked at all the ways that we are attached to the past. Well, this is the way I've always lived. This is just who I am. And notice that rigid thinking keeps us stuck. We have the capacity for the freedom of choice, that we can choose to acknowledge the past, and we can choose to move forward through our innate capacity to choose our thinking, our beliefs, and our behavior. And so we looked at that last week when Reverend Rebecca talked about taking dominion. And what is taking dominion other than exercising our freedom of choice and choosing to examine our deeply unconscious and sometimes limiting beliefs and start to transform those beliefs, those ways of thinking, those habitual pattern of thought and behavior, so that something new can emerge. And a lot of times when we start to work on that, what comes up, and it did within our community, I saw it within the practitioner corps and some other elements of our community, is the old clashes with the new. And we start to have this conflict of new and the old. And that's to be expected. In any formation of new, part of the metamorphosis is what they call in community the phenomena of storming, forming, and then norming. So storming is the clashing of the new and the old. And the forming is to then acknowledge that and see what new third way of looking at something can emerge. And then making that new way the norm. And we always are reenacting that cycle of storming, forming, and norming. So this taking, it all starts with taking dominion, consciously choosing what we want to think, how we want to act, how we want to feel, and moving forward. We have the capacity to choose our thoughts and change our lives. So that brings us to today's topic. And today's topic, once we have started to see a new way of being emerge, we now cultivate our innate capacity for creativity and generosity. Creativity and generosity, and they really go hand in hand. We open up to that infinite field of possibilities through our intuition, and we catch a new vibration, a new way of being, and then we move it through our beingness as a high state of creativity. We have the capacity to create, and we create through our conscious awareness. We create through our capacity to bring forth. And in that creativity, it is really giving of ourselves, giving of our unique gifts in generous ways. Ernest Holmes says a lot about generosity. He did so in our opening reading, and I want to continue with something he said in another book. You see generosity throughout all of his writings. He said, so true givingness is the transmitting of the self to everything we do, no matter what it is. We should give of ourselves in love and in service to others in a spirit of generosity and good fellowship. It is to be giving of oneself to every person, every project, every association with zest, love, kindness, and friendliness, that one sees the larger possibility of all things. Beauty instead of ugliness, love instead of hate, the divine hidden within the human. To refuse to give is to refuse to receive, for everything moves in circles. Real givingness is the givingness of the self. And interestingly enough, Ernest Holmes defines love as a self-givingness of spirit to its beloved in terms of creation. So giving and creating are one and the same, because the energetic of creating is really the givingness of oneself. It's not just giving of our gift of being an artist, painter or a poet. We are continually creating everything in our lives, moment to moment. And so that is the true definition of creativity. So our freedom is rooted in self-choice or volition. We can choose to remember who we truly are. We are divine co-creators. We are one with God, and so we are always enacting and recreating the givingness of God in every moment of every day. We are the heart and hands of God's givingness in the world. We are here to reveal the givingness of God. So I want to just once again define the terms. Creativity is simply the use of our imagination or original ideas in creating the experience of our life. We are always creatively creating our lives anew. It is creating new responses even to old situations. It all starts with choice. It all starts with choice, freedom of choice. What is a fresh, new, exciting way to express ourselves? We are always at cause, and how we respond, how we show up, how we give of ourselves. We are always at choice. And generosity simply means giving freely and abundantly without regard to receiving in return. It is really an aspect of unconditional giving. So generosity is freely and abundantly giving of oneself in terms of time, talent, treasure, skills, anything from a smile and an encouraging word. Are we generous beings? That is the question to ask. Now, generosity was originally, way back, eons and eons, centuries and centuries ago, related to nobility in terms of giving of the alms to the poor. But over time, that term has metamorphosized into more of a quality of being that anyone can cultivate and use in their life. And it then lifts us all to a noble place in consciousness, one of high sacred service, one of being here for God. So freely giving of ourselves in service is another expression of generosity. Are we stingy with our ideas? Are we stingy with our compliments? Are we stingy with sharing resources with one another? I am thinking of Kylie, who really got on the text and was generously giving of vaccination appointments to as many people as she could possibly think of. For me, that was a very generous gesture. There's a couple of benefits for generosity. Did you know generosity is good for the health? There is a recent study done of a group of mothers over 30 years, and they found that 52% of mothers who never volunteered or gave service to anything other than their own immediate needs, 52% of them had great illnesses, significant illnesses in many, many years that they were followed up with, I think, for 30 years. And they found that. And they also found that women who volunteered regularly, who were really about serving the greater good, only 32% of them had significant illnesses. So the difference between 56 and 32 statistically is significant. So therefore, generosity is good for our health. It's good for our health and well-being. Freely giving of our gifts in support of our community is another way of being generous. And we talk about that every October with our Hope Prosperity Now program, that you can never really outgive God, that as you give your treasures in support of a greater cause, and in our case, CSL PS has performed a lot this last year. We have really had beautiful services online every Sunday. We have had social gatherings. We have provided classes. There is a lot that we do in support of the greater community. And we collect food and we give tithes to the sanctuary, LGBTQ shelter for teens. You know, we do a lot of good works in the world, and we're continuing to expand that. So giving of our gifts in support of this beloved community is a way of being generous and activating. So all these forms of giving really come back to activating the law of circulation. As we give love, we open up to receive the continuous circulation of love in our life. As we give our time in service, you know, we have more time to give. They always say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person, because they're about giving. So there is a lot of to be said in the law of circulation. I like to teach it in terms of money because you can see this cause and effect. If I give forth, it comes back tenfold. It's really easy to see the concrete way of how giving and receiving are connected. There is a wonderful story about a college student that really demonstrates the last line of Reverend Michael's reading that Reverend Robert read. And Reverend Michael says, generosity is contagious and leads to a profound effect on both the giver and the receiver. Well, here's an experiment that proves this. It's about a college student and was pre-pandemic. So he was able to travel around the United States. So the story goes that several years ago, before the pandemic, a college student, Tommy Lurkich, 23, of Moscow, Idaho, was nearing the end of his senior year at the University of Idaho when he got the idea to go on a journey across the country in an experience of generosity. This trek wasn't going to be the typical graduation trip. Rather, he would set out to reward acts of kindness. So in late May, the 23-year-old college student started his journey from Seattle with a goal of reaching New York City by foot, giving out $100 bills to generous strangers who helped him out along the way. Helping others, Tommy said, is one of my primary passions in the world. There are so many truly wonderful people in my life, and I want to do something in honor of them and bring an awareness of how many kind and generous people there are. So Tommy's plan was to reward those who lent him a helping hand on his rigorous trip. With the assistance of a crowdfund campaign, GoFundMe campaign, the recent grad would hand out $100 bills to 100 big-hearted, unsuspecting strangers who helped him along his trip. He attached a card to each $100 bill with the donor's name written on it. One of the many awe-inspiring encounters Tommy had was with a man named Justin from North Dakota who gave him food and shelter. And Tommy recounts the experience by saying, "In the morning, Justin treated me to breakfast and told me he had taken 15 other people that very month because a lot of hitchhikers come through there." And then Justin shared that the person who he had just helped right before me robbed him, and yet Justin still took me in. He wasn't looking for a payment, but it felt so good for me to reward his generosity. And Tommy concluded his recount by saying, "The idea for the trip was inspired in part by those who helped me in a tough financial situation while I was attending college and I had to face dropping out of college. If it were not for a professor who gave me $2,000 so I could finish my studies, he was compelled to pay forward this great act of generosity." And so generosity is contagious, and it inspires generous behavior for everyone we give to. It is activating the law of circulation in a creative way. Justin was incredibly creative, was he not? So generosity is good, and it is a beautiful community, individual practice, and it is a beautiful practice for a spiritual community. One of my colleagues, Bonnie Bernard, gave a workshop to my community in Flagstaff, Arizona on generosity. And she was giving some information at the beginning. And she says, communities are a gold mine for generosity, because communities are a place where we learn to live spiritually, where we learn to love each other and to forgive one another and to butt up and work out our differences with one another. And we leave the spiritual community having really mastered some of these life skills and have grown in our capacity to love each other and to share and to celebrate and to really make a difference in different people's lives. So we learn a lot of these acts within spiritual community. It's a very profound place to be. So generosity is contagious. It is giving forth freely and lovingly and joyously. It is about a new way of being in the world. We don't base it on how people give to us. We base it on how we want to show up in the world. We want to be a beneficial presence. We want to do the work that God has called us to do. In truth, we are the heart and hands of God's givingness in the world. And God being generous, never withholding, we are called to also be generous, never withholding. So we share of our gifts, our talents, our smiles, our love. We share of our ideas. We share in so many ways. And can we put a feeling tone of generous, freely sharing ourselves in every act of giving forth? That's being generous. So let us take a big deep breath now, and let us just simply move within. Father, Mother God, Infinite Spirit, Lord God Almighty, how good it is to sense and feel and to know that there is truly only one power, one presence, one life, that each and every one of us is a divine creation that God has brought forth out of its capacity to love, and that love becomes the flesh of our being. We are created in the image and likeness and out of the very love of God. So love is innate in all beings everywhere, two-legged, four-legged, etc. God's love is made flesh in this act of creation. So we therefore have been created to be generous and to be creative and to be loving and giving. So I bless each one of us on our journey of awakening, I know that we are embracing the new fabulous. We are releasing the past. We are taking dominion over our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and we are creating a whole new life, one based in freely and generously giving of ourselves, moment to moment, day in and day out. And we are grateful that we can never outgive God. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Father, Mother, God. I release this word. I let it be so now. And together we affirm it by saying, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Eunice, and thank you to everyone who joined our service today. And thank you, God, for allowing me to join you today. So we invite you to join Reverend Rebecca Van Kotterman for private prayer for healing and revealing your highest good immediately after the service in the upper room on Zoom. And please remember to log into our webpage at cslps.org and make your reservation for Easter service. Takes you less than a minute and we'll be ready for you and looking forward to seeing you on Easter Sunday. We'd like to end the service today with our closing affirmation. I invite you to read along with me at home. I am at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I live in the consciousness of peace. I can never be separate from my source. I am living love. Hallelujah. Amen. We leave you today with our own Jeff Kingfisher singing his original song, Wholeness Prayer. From all of us here at the center to all of you at home, we see you, we honor you, and we look forward to being with you in person again soon. Namaste.
God is the whole of me, love flows through me. God is the whole of me, love flows through me. God is the whole of me, love flows through me. God is the whole of me, love flows through me. I give, forgive, embrace, flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. God is the whole of us. Love flows through us. We give for